to make this available for any members of the public that would like to observe. And go ahead and get folks checked in. So I see we have Wes Manzel from our zoning department. Welcome, Wes.
Hi.
I see we have Michael Wexler. Mr. Wexler, are you with us?
I am. I'm the property owner.
Okay, great. Ms. Salini, good to see you again.
Long time no see.
Yep. And Tom Howard.
Yes, hi. Handle some of the help with some of the management of the site.
Okay, great. Welcome, everyone. Need to read through our hearing script, which will basically just cover the procedure for the hearing, and then we'll jump right into it. So this is the May 24th, 2023 session of the Zoning Hearing Examiner docket. The case before us today is case number ZH20230062. The purpose of this hearing is to allow applicants and any potential opposing parties to testify and to offer and refute evidence and testimony. This hearing will follow the rules found in the zoning code and the supplemental rules of the Zoning Hearing Examiner. All testimony and evidence that an applicant or any opposing party wishes to offer must be presented at this hearing. The hearing will proceed as follows. The applicant, the applicant's attorney, or the applicant's agent will first present the applicant's case. If there were anyone here from the public, they'd have an opportunity to speak after the applicant had presented its case. In the event, well, I'll give our zoning plans examiner, Wes Manzel, an opportunity to provide testimony in addition to its staff report. In the event that any party testifies or offers argument in opposition to this application, the applicant will have an opportunity to rebut that testimony and or argument offered in opposition. And then finally, the applicant will have an opportunity to make closing statements. For our purposes here today, I'll allow Mr. Wexler, Mr. Howard, and Ms. Alini to tell me about the project, why they think I should grant the relief. I'll go to Wes. I'll have some questions along the way. You all can respond to anything Wes has said and then make any closing remarks. After all presentations have been made, I will close the hearing. Decisions may be expected within 2 weeks. I may limit or exclude any testimony that I deem irrelevant or outside the scope of the application being considered. I may interrupt any speaker to ask questions or to make any comments. In the event of any technical difficulties with video conferencing technology, I'll do my best to troubleshoot those on the fly. To the extent there's some defect that prevents us from meaningfully going forward with the hearing, I may continue to postpone the hearing at my discretion. The zoning code requires that I swear in all of our witnesses that are providing testimony. So if you intend on providing any testimony here today, I need you to unmute. I need everyone to raise their right hand so they can be sworn, and I need everyone to answer out loud. Do you solemnly swear the testimony you shall give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
I do.
Okay, great. Who's going to be taking the lead for us here today?
I'm going to start, and then Michael's going to take over. I just
Okay.
wanted to clarify that we are only adding, on the staff report, there was a bit of confusion, I think. We're only adding one new sign on the bottom. The top sign is already existing. So see, there's like the black is already existing. We're adding a new one. So instead of 60 square feet of additional signage, it's 30 square feet of additional signage.
Okay.
Michael's the business owner, so he's going to kind of go over some of the hardships that the business has had with some developments in the area and kind of go through his thoughts on what he thinks they should do with the sign.
Okay.
Thank you for your time, David. Please feel free to interrupt with any questions, as you said, or comments at any time. When I said before I'm the business owner, I should clarify. I'm the property owner of the PetSmart. Let's call it the PetSmart box, which, if you look at the staff report on page 2, on the right side, you'll see a black rooftop. That's the box. That's the PetSmart box. You see where I'm referring to? So above that, the big white one is Walmart, and below it, the sort of brown gray one, that's Kroger. So originally, when the shopping center was built, this pylon sign was erected actually on the gas station parcel. So it's an easement to this pylon sign. As you can see, Kroger got a big piece, and Walmart got a big piece, and PetSmart got a panel below. PetSmart has since moved out, and so we have vacant space that's going to be demised into 2 spaces. And hence we want 2 spots on the pylon for new retailers that are going to go in there. And 25 years ago when this was done, there were lots of big boxes in the marketplace. There was Sears and Kmart and JCPenney, whatever. Everybody had big footprints. In the newer retail environment, footprints are much smaller. And so you get stores like Burlington that used to be 80,000 square feet. Now they lease 20,000 square feet. And a lot of retailers have come to much smaller footprints. So we now want to split that black rooftop PetSmart box into 2 sides. And hence we need 2 spots on the panel, but we only have one, the one for PetSmart. Splitting that single panel in half doesn't make it visible to the eye from a distance. You can't, if we put 10 retailers in here, we can't split one panel into 10 little pieces. It needs to be of a certain size to be visible. So we're asking for 1 new panel on the bottom, which would be the same size as the PetSmart panel, 3 feet high, and the posts are 10 feet wide, so 30 square feet. So we'd be going from the 82 square feet existing, which you see on the top right of our application, Walmart, then Kroger, then a black panel that's currently empty, to 112 square feet, Walmart, Kroger, and then 2 panels below it, one which was PetSmart, and then the new one. The hardship that's really occurred here, the biggest thing is really the construction of the police station. And if you look at that aerial again that was on page 2 of the staff report, you can see very clearly the police station. I mean, it's a 40,000 square foot complex of buildings. You could see by all the solar panels just below that red square. The red square is the gas station where this pylon is that we're talking about. And below it are all those police station buildings. That's created a massive visibility issue for this PetSmart box, particularly if you were a retailer taking part of that box without a spot on the pylon at the front. Nobody's going to know you're there driving by on the street or walking by on the street. And I think really,
I'm sorry. Let me just make sure I'm totally oriented here. You're asking to add 1 new cabinet. Is that right?
Correct. At the bottom of the existing panel, 1 more. At the bottom of the existing pylon, 1 more panel.
So it'll be Walmart, Kroger, black, then additional panel.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Normally a shopping
and so the
center,
bottom one will be PetSmart.
No, PetSmart's gone. They vacated.
Okay.
Currently, we're talking
Currently, there's no tenants listed on either of those panels. He's in the process of redoing the building and then getting tenants for it. Correct, Michael?
Yeah. Well, we have LOI intentions, or we're at LOI stage with Ross and Five Below are the current candidates. And both are saying we need I could show you the documents. Both on their work letters require a spot on the panel. We're just not going to get somebody to go in there without any signage and basically no visibility, as you can see from the aerial. Normally, when a shopping center is built, all of the out parcels get filled, and by contract with the shopping center, they can be, Starbucks, Burger King, 7-Eleven, a gas station, whatever. Those are all small, kind of 1,000 to 2,000 square foot buildings that don't block visibility of your buildings that are built 500 feet back. When the police station was proposed and approved, I don't know, it's about 10 years ago now, that's really when the owner of this PetSmart box should have stood up and said, no way, you're blocking my visibility. I can't handle that hardship. And should have either objected to the police station or at a minimum said, I'm going to need some extra signage out front here to make sure people know my retailers are there. That's when this hearing should have happened in order to get the police station approved, but I didn't own it at the time, and for whatever reason, the owner didn't stand up and say something. So the police station is built. It's 40,000 square feet. The visibility from Ferguson Road is dismal for this box, and I only have 1 spot on the pylon, and I have to split the box into 2 for these retailers. So that's the key need.
Gotcha, Mr. Wexler. Is it the street trees that are causing the obstruction along
Not
Ferguson? Really, or are you saying the actual D3
actual
building?
Yeah, on that below that red square, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings. Most 5 out of 6 with solar panels on top.
Yeah.
Right. If you're standing on Ferguson Road on the left of those and looking toward the black rooftop former PetSmart box, you can't see anything. It's completely blocked by buildings.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So you're saying you can't see the actual PetSmart from the street. Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
former PetSmart. So yeah, PetSmart or whoever's going to be there will have signage on the building itself, set 500 feet back with buildings at the front of the shopping center, and you just won't know they're there. So a tenant that's not going to get a piece on this pylon is not going to move in. I mean, they'd be crazy to. There's no way to know they're there. They're hidden. So the suggestion in the staff report was to take Kroger's panel off this pylon, because Kroger already has another panel, I don't know, 500 feet to the south, it said. Kroger has a second pylon down the road, south on Ferguson Road. I would love to take Kroger's panel off this and use it for one of the new tenants. There's no way Kroger's going to agree to that, right? Kroger has a legal right to their panel on this pylon under the contract with the creation of the shopping center. So does Walmart. And if I go to them and say, would you please relinquish your legal right to this panel on this pylon so I can put some other store sign there, it's just going to be a flat out no. I'm happy to write that letter. I'm happy to get that response and give it to you. It's 1,000,000 to 1 odds that there's any reason they would allow that panel to disappear. So I don't see a redesign removing the Kroger panel as being viable. Kroger does have their own pylon now a little further down, but from their perspective, the more signage, the better. Maybe at the time that their second pylon went up, somebody should have said, hey, you're going to be on 2 pylons now. That's a lot of sign clutterage. How about only 1? But that was 25 years ago, and it's Kroger, and it is what it is. So they're legally entitled to a pylon on their own parcel, which is the one further down with the brown roof, and they're entitled to this panel on this pylon. So I don't have that option of asking them. I don't have that option of making them take down or taking down their pylon. So I think that's the key arguments I wanted to make. I have tenants in hand now. We've been working on leasing this property for a long time. We've known for a couple of years that PetSmart's going to leave, and they have now. They left in April of 22, so they've been out for over a year. A key criteria to successfully leasing this is a space on the pylon. And the upside for the community is, the downside is hopefully a minimal amount of one panel at the bottom of this pylon, not the top. We're not proposing to go higher or wider or anything like that. It's just right at the bottom. And the benefit is obviously, if we fill the space, jobs, sales tax, less blight. We have an issue with homeless people in the area, as I'm sure you're aware, and vacant stores get homeless people and other stuff at the back, at the front. It gets dirty. I think it's a win-win for the community to fill this box and have more selection, more competition, more stores to go to, more jobs, more sales tax. Only good things. So that's the hardship that was created by the police station building this massive structure complex of buildings, and B, box sizes have come down in the last 20 years, and I need to, if I sit and try to rent this box to one tenant that's going to take the whole 33,000 because I only have one spot on the pylon for them to advertise properly and be known, I may sit there forever. There just aren't a lot of tenants anymore taking 33,000.
Gotcha.
That's where it is.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Mr. Wexler.
Thanks for your time.
Of course. Yeah. Did Mr. Howard or Ms. Laney want to add anything before we go to Wes?
I'm good.
I just want to make sure that, so one thing that Ms. Wexler said was that we can't go to Kroger and ask them to remove their sign. Obviously, I think we all understand why we can't go to Kroger and ask them to move their sign or switch out, or, they have a pylon someplace else, so they shouldn't have this one. We at Atlantic Sign and as sign industry people, we can't go to a client and ask them to remove something. So by adding that panel just gives everybody a chance to kind of have equal visibility, because Kroger's never going to leave. Walmart's never going to leave. So having that extra panel is just giving extra visibility. And Mr. Reckler's right. There's no way that we could take that panel and split it into 2 because you wouldn't see anything.
Got split into two.
Like having two tenants, so it'd be
Oh,
side by
gotcha.
side or this way. It would just be too small.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for that, for the testimony. Wes, did you want to add anything?
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, I understand the comments that the applicants made and thoughts about, you know, when they bought the property, there was better visibility, but you know, the property out front is zoned commercial and allows an 85-foot tall building. So there's no guarantees on protecting the visibility of a building that's 900 feet back from the road. I mean, I don't see there being any hardship. I think that whoever owns the sign, which I don't know who owns the sign, but they need to work with the tenants and the other property owners, because this is actually an off-site sign, that they need to try to use the existing sign. And the other thing about this location is that the traffic counts are half of what they are in Glenway. PetSmart moved out. I mean, I don't know exactly the reason, but you know, they moved to Glenway, so they're moving to a better location. So this location is not as good a location for retail. So, you know, the signage that you're allowed is, you know, the sign is already non-conforming. So adding more sign, you know, doesn't, you know, there's no hardship. Yeah. What were you gonna
Gotcha.
say?
So, I just wanted to mute her real quick so you could finish your statement. But just a couple questions. So, Wes, you're saying there is no identifiable hardship because it's not in an economically viable location.
Well, there's no hardship because the signage, the ground signage allowed, they can redesign the sign to accommodate they have 30 square feet available as a face change. They could do two 15 square foot signs to accommodate two new tenants, or redesign the entire sign. I mean, there's new ground signs on Glenway over on another plaza. I just did a permit for a sign there this morning. So I feel like, yeah, there's not maybe that much of an adverse hardship on the area if there was a second 30 square foot sign there, but I feel like the solution should be, you know, create a solution to use the existing square footage should be, you know, considered, because I mean, Kroger has two signs. I mean, so maybe, you know, most of the traffic is going to come from the south. So why does Kroger need a sign way up to the north? I mean, yeah, we all are surmising they wouldn't change, but that's not my problem or your problem, David. It's the landowner's problem. And there's no guarantee when the applicant bought the PetSmart parcel that they get more signage. That's their risk of buying a parcel that's 900 feet from the road, has commercial land in front of it that could be developed with an 85-foot tall building, and is in a street that has only 12,000 cars per day, which is half of the traffic on Glenway. It's not a very good retail location. Additional signage there will not help, in my opinion, get people to that site. I mean, if someone knows there's a Ross there, they're gonna, if they see a 15 square foot Ross sign, they're gonna turn in and go in. That, like, the sign at that location is not going to get people coming from Glenway to drive onto Ferguson to get to their store. So I just don't think there's a strong hardship case for additional signage when there's, you know, I mean, this is an off-site sign too. Like, I mean, maybe they could try and put a sign on their parcel, you know, and work with that concept. But
Yeah, is the parcel for the potential store that would be behind the police headquarters, right?
Well,
No.
the parcel for the PetSmart is kind of a panhandle parcel and comes out it jogs twice, and then it includes the access driveway. So like the applicant actually owns the land that the access driveway is on, and then the pylon sign is on the Kroger gas station parcel. And then Kroger owns their own parcel, and it goes out to Ferguson Road on the south, and that's where they have their other ground sign. So it's kind of a mess, but
So yeah, Mr.
Actually,
Wexler,
Wes,
which
yeah.
particular, Mr. Wexler, which particular store or box here is it? Is it the PetSmart? Is that where
the one I own, or where the sign is?
So the additional signage that you're requesting, that space will be assigned to which store or stores?
So that black rooftop box, which was where formerly PetSmart was occupying, will get split into two. I'm going to have two new tenants. Call it Ross and Five Below for discussion purposes. Tenant A, Tenant B, and one of these panels will be called Tenant A, and one of them will be called Tenant B. And to Weston's point, I think that offering a tenant if we look at if I took that former PetSmart sign and split it horizontally to have a 1.5 foot by 10 foot wide sign, I don't think Ross would accept that. First of all, they can't put their lettering properly. It would have to be some, if it was like microelectronics kind of store, maybe, but the way Ross or most retailers want, look at Kroger, right? If Kroger on that panel were told you can only have half that horizontally or half that vertically, there's just no way they'd squeeze it in and have a viable sign. And Wes, I agree with you. This isn't the best retail location in the world. In fact, it's not even as good as a mile and a half up where you have Target, and where PetSmart moved, and Ulta, and a whole bunch of great retailers are up there. In fact, Kroger's up there as well. But it is still a viable retail location. I still got Walmart and Kroger here, and it's still viable to have other tenants in the middle. The question is, how can we help other tenants to make this as best a location as possible? I don't think we could say, well, we shouldn't have signage for them, so let's just let this box go derelict and stay empty. I'm not going to ask you for a sign and then not. If you're saying this isn't going to help the problem, that's essentially saying, well, I won't be able to get a retailer anyway. And if I'm not able to get a retailer, I don't need the sign. I'm happy to say I'm only going to build this extra panel when I sign a lease with a tenant. So I can show that it definitely is helping. If it's not going to help the problem and I still can't get somebody to sign a lease, then I won't build the panel and there's no harm done. But if I can get a retailer to sign a lease, I will need to build a panel to get them to the table and to the agreement. And so by definition, then I'm sort of proving it will help the situation for these retailers. Despite a 12,000 square foot traffic count, you still get a lot of people coming to Kroger and Walmart to shop. And a retailer will want to, I know a retailer will want to be in the middle if they can have adequate signage. And just to your other point about trying to work it out with the existing tenants, Walmart and Kroger, I can go to them and say, hey, Walmart, do you mind being half as big? The answer is going to be a flat out, absolutely not. We have rights to this size on this pylon since 1998. It advertises our store, it helps our business, and there's nothing you can do to take that away from us. And Kroger's going to say the same. And of course, to Kroger, as you said, I could also say, hey, you've got another pylon down the road. Everybody knows about you. Why do you need this one? And the answer is going to be, the more the better. I'm entitled to it. I own it. I have legal rights to it. And no, I'm not going to remove it for you so you can, for the good of another retailer coming into the center. So I'd love to redesign it, but I don't see that as viable. And you're right. I had no guarantees in buying this property that I would be able to get more signage. But things have changed since this shopping center was built, particularly this police station getting built. And that's when somebody should have stood up and said, hey, this is going to block my visibility. I don't have a big ask. An extra panel on a sign's not going to kill you. At the time, they didn't need it, but now we do. And I'm the owner now saying, this is not a big ask. One more thing I want to say, you mentioned putting up an alternative pylon. that's certainly a viable possibility, right? I can put another pylon literally 2 feet away from this one. This one is on the gas station. The property line splits that little strip of grass that comes out to Ferguson. So I could say, hey, my parcel has no pylon. I'm going to put a new pylon, 72 square feet big or whatever I'm allowed, right next to this one, so that I can advertise my 2 tenants. And I think I have rights to do that without variance or anything. But so then you're going to have more sign clutterage, literally a lot more square footage of signage, and costs for me to build. Which is better for the community, to allow a variance of 30 square feet on this existing panel, or to build a whole new pylon directly next to it, which is say 60 square feet, to give the tenants 2 new big panels? I think it's a win-win for the community to have this extra panel allowed, as opposed to building a whole new pylon. It's cheaper for me, it's faster, and less sign clutterage. Does that make sense, Wes?
Well, let me jump in and clarify something, because that's what I was originally trying to get at when I was asking about the parcel. Wes, when you said that he could build a ground sign on his own parcel, does that mean that he could build one next? As I'm looking at the parcel lines now, does that mean that he could build one essentially right next to the signage we're talking about?
Yeah, I'll tell you where it can go. If you look at the
Mr. Wexler, hold on. Let me.
Sorry, Wes.
I just wanted.
Yeah.
Do you know, Wes?
I'm just kind of zooming in on the zone or the map here. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, he could put it, in his frontage area. It would have to be set back appropriately, though, so it wouldn't be right next to it. It would have to be set back, half the sign height and such. So it would be offset, DOTE probably would not let them put it right next to the curb. Like, there's probably a couple of reasons why it wouldn't get permitted, but technically it could apply for it. But yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with the 1 pylon sign better than 2 kind of thing in general. I feel like in this case we had to say no on our recommendation because of the lack of what we thought was a hardship. So.
Okay. All right, Mr. Wexler, did you want to add something there? I cut you off.
Yeah, David, if you look at this is page 3 of the staff report, the top picture that shows a couple of cars at the red light. Google Street View of subject sign.
Yeah.
That shows the pylon. The property line runs right down that strip of grass in front of the 2 posts. So those 2 posts of the pylon, if they were 1 foot to the left, they would be on my property. Given where they are, they're on the gas station property. So I could, I guess, put a pylon, say, as Wes pointed out, whatever, 15 feet setback or something from Ferguson Road, next to this pylon on 1 foot to the left, so that the posts were on my land instead of the gas station land, and then we'd have 2 pylons side by side. Yeah, I mean, I could do that too, and that'll be fine for the retailers. A little bit more setback, but hey, they'll get more square footage each or something. I think this is the solution that has less sign clutterage, to just put another little panel right below the PetSmart one, instead of building a whole new pylon, and cheaper and faster for me. But if yeah.
Sure. Okay. Anything else from anyone at all, in closing or otherwise, before we adjourn here today? Okay.
Me. Sorry, I got kicked out, so I'm on my phone. I just want to, what I was going to say, and I'm sorry for interrupting. I want to make sure that we know that I'm trying to figure out how to say this. The opinion of the zoning department of it thinking it's not a viable location shouldn't come into account on this situation. They don't get to, that's not part of the decision-making process if they think it's an economically viable situation. Their job is to look at the code and see if the sign is within code, and that's it. So Wes stating that he thinks that it's not viable, I don't think should be something that should be taken into account in this situation. We just should be looking at the code and how we can accommodate this situation. I do agree with Mr. Wexler. Adding in another pylon sign is great for my company, but bad for Mr. Wexler, and it's going to just create more clutter in that area. And I think that adding in that extra panel and allowing him to have 2 tenants is going to make this area a viable retail area, if that's what we are going to stand on. But I just think we need to remember that we're here to go for the zoning, not for the viability of the building.
Gotcha. Thanks,
David?
Yeah,
can I just
sure.
respond real quick?
Yeah.
So the only reason I was mentioning the viability was more so the fact that the application talked about signage being needed for viability of the businesses, but PetSmart had a sign and they left. So like, it's not necessarily like crucial to have a sign there. So that was kind of the context of why I said that. So thanks.
Wes, can you confirm then that that Brooke's initial statement that they only need an additional 30 square feet, that will allow them to install 1 additional panel under the currently black panel, and that's all the relief that's technically requested or needed?
I mean, I'm just going on like a Google. I didn't go out to the site. I just look at the Google Street View and I can see the PetSmart sign below the Kroger. And so assuming that that's still there, even though
that's the black one, right?
Yeah, her pictures submitted.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Well,
I'm working off page 3 of the staff report because I'm going back and forth between that and Google Maps.
Yeah.
So okay, PetSmart, but there's not like an additional relief needed because that sign was abandoned or anything like that?
Well, I mean, if you want to get into the weeds on something, I guess the applicant said that they left in April 2022, which had been, a little over a year. I mean, I don't really get too stringent on that non-conforming part, but if you want to get into the weeds on that, I mean, it might be an issue, but
I don't want to do that.
I mean, I'm just going to assume that the PetSmart panel is still there. I'd allow a new sign as a face change if I were reviewing a permit for it. Like I wouldn't get too, stringent on that.
Sure. Okay, great. Unless there's anything else, I think we can leave it at that. Okay. So I've had a chance to review the application and the staff report, and I understand the position of the zoning department to try to keep signage that a little bit under control, but I think that the applicant here has demonstrated that there is some hardship. I think it would be difficult, for any retail business or box store, regardless of where they are, to be denied signage when other folks have it in the vicinity. And I do think that the construction of District 3 has created a bit of a hardship in terms of people being able to see the other stores back there. And so, and then, ultimately, I do think it's a good point for Mr. Wexler that if there's a possibility that they could build a second sign there, that this is the least onerous path to get to that additional signage. And so I think based on all of that, I am going to grant the request for relief in this case. I need to formalize that decision in a written decision, and so that usually takes about 2 weeks. I think that's accurate based on what the current queue that I have is right now. As soon as I finish that decision, I put it into a PDF and I email it to everybody who's in the hearing here today, so you guys will have a copy of it as soon as it's finished. Any questions about any of that? This is my 5th hearing of the day, so I'm feeling like I'm not being the most articulate. If you guys have questions, you can ask them now, or you can email me at any time within the next 2 weeks, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. But I promise that my written decision will be a little bit more clear and articulate than I've been this afternoon, but happy to answer any questions you guys have now.
I think
Okay.
we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. Great. Well, hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you all for your time and your testimony, and we'll see you next time. We're adjourned.